Imagine if my Auntie Peg's haunting me right now watching this
Oh
and
my
thinking,
God.
like,
You know what though? I bet she would find that funny, and I bet she would love that you ended up
oh,
getting an agent with that concept.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
guys. Welcome back. I'm sitting here with our client Alarna, who recently got a fantastic result. So she finished her book and also signed with an agent. So we're going to talk
Yeah.
about her writing journey, and we're also going to talk about what it was like querying, and hopefully you guys can get some insights or maybe just get inspired. Do you want to tell us, first of all, a little bit about the woman behind the book? Where are you based and what do you
Yeah.
do? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Alarna. I'm in Australia. I'm a fashion stylist during the day, so I work dressing people for a living. I do it a mixture of private and for TV.
This was not your first book, and it wasn't the first book that we worked on together either.
Mm,
This was actually the second novel for you, I believe.
yes.
And I actually want to talk a little bit about what you feel didn't work with book one, and then
Hmm.
what did work with book two, because I think that the contrast there
Yeah.
is quite telling.
Yeah.
Um, Before we get into that, just for so people have the context, what's this book about? The one that you did sign the agent for?
Yeah, so this book, we're going on submission under literally ghosted. And
Yeah.
it is about a woman who goes on a dating show and in the final three dies and comes back as a ghost. And she's now haunting the set of the show with seven other ghosts, trying to work out what happened to her the night she died.
The thing I like and the thing I want people to note is how catchy the concept is. So the
Yeah.
title is Ghosted, and you've
Mm,
taken the concept of like dating, like getting ghosted
yeah.
and dating, and
Yeah.
actually like paranormal experiences and like fuse them together. Which I
Yeah.
think from the agent's perspective, if I was to hear that concept, I would just think that's very commercial. Like I can really,
Yeah.
it's very TikTokable, you know. And can I ask, are you able to say who you signed with, which agency?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. My agent is from the Night Agency, and her name is Lucian Diver,
Awesome.
and yeah, she's fabulous. I'm so excited.
Cool. Very cool. Okay, let's rewind a little bit because I want to
Hmm.
dig into your whole writing journey, and I
Hmm.
want to talk a little bit about book one and what you feel, yeah, what didn't work about book one, and then what
Yeah.
you did differently for book two, because I think
Yes.
I think that's pretty educational for people. So
Yes.
that first book was not a paranormal rom-com. It was more like a kind of thriller. Also, what I remember from doing book one, I think you've been working on it for a really long time, and it was
Yeah.
very long, right?
Oh, so long.
It was like
Like
a big,
140,000 words.
yeah, it was like a sprawling story.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. It was
Yeah.
pretty messy, I think. There was a lot
100%.
that we had to like untangle and try and figure out
Yeah.
and go back and fix. And
Yeah.
I think, at least from my perspective, the challenge was that when you had come up with it and you were writing it at that time, you just didn't
Mm.
have the tools or the knowledge at that
Yeah.
stage.
I didn't know anything about story structure.
Yeah.
And when I first started writing that book, I wrote a first draft of that when I was 16. I think I finished the first draft at 17.
Awesome.
No idea about anything to do with like, you need to have a theme and, the catalyst and the debate, nothing.
Yeah.
I was just like total pantser, but with
Yeah.
zero clue of any
Yeah.
story concept stuff. I think I was just more, I don't know. I just felt like being a creative gal. And
Yeah. Yeah.
but the when I came to you, what you taught me really, really helped a couple of things. So, firstly, helping me kind of see the forest through the trees was very, very helpful. But actually going through and thinking about things like what does my protagonist want? How are they going to get
Mm.
it? How is that going to change them
Yeah.
emotionally? How is it going to change their physical situation? And what about the stakes? Well, these are things I just hadn't really thought heavily about. And because I
Yeah.
think I was a little bit emotionally attached to the story, I think I had a hard time making those changes. And I think
Yeah.
nearly every time you said, "Hey, let's do this," I'd be like, "But I'm saving that for book two." And you'd be like, "Well,
Yeah.
that's not
Don't
going to
do
be
that.
book two if you don't work this out."
Yeah.
So, when I finished writing that book, I knew I had a lot of editing ahead of me for the next round of edits to like smooth
Mm.
it out.
Right.
And rather than do that, I wrote this other book
Yeah. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
an outlet. I'm like, I'm just going to take a little break. I'm just going to work on something else just so I can come back to this other one with fresh eyes. And then this other book just poured out of
Okay.
me.
Okay. All right. So there's a lot of really helpful stuff there. So the first thing is full transparency, not every book that we work on that we put the effort into ends up getting
Mm.
finished. They don't
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes just the juice and the motivation to do it just isn't there anymore, and you're more excited about a different idea, and
Hmm.
that's okay. Because I think
Yeah.
even though book one didn't work out, the stuff that you learned, the skills
Oh,
that we worked through for book one is stuff that was then transferable to something that you did end up finishing. So what I want to
yeah.
ask you next is, so you were working on this second book, Ghosted, from scratch, and
Hmm.
what did you do differently when you were creating Ghosted?
Okay.
Yeah,
So firstly, I had an idea. So basically this thing happened. I had an idea
yeah,
and I said to myself, I'm not going to pants this one
yeah,
because I've been there. I have 140,000 words to prove it.
yeah,
And I would really like to try and write to a word target. And I'd gotten into things like looking at, general word counts for genres and things.
yeah.
And I thought, I'm not going to pants it. I'm really going to plan this one out. And the seed of the idea happened. It literally, I came up with the idea in a couple of minutes. I'd had my great aunt had passed away and I was
Right,
going through her things.
yeah,
I had The Bachelor on in the background.
right. What a combination! The lightning
Yeah.
struck. Eureka!
Imagine if my Auntie Peg's haunting me right now watching this
Oh
and
my
thinking,
God.
like,
You know what though? I bet she would find that funny, and I bet she would love that you ended up
oh,
getting an agent with that concept.
yeah, yeah,
She would
totally.
love that.
And then I
Love
went
it.
through our old notes from when we did the previous book that we worked on together, and I actually started
Exercises.
working through those exercises.
Yeah.
The biggest ones that for me made a difference was I think it was like one of the first exercises about like
Hmm.
the premise, like trying
Okay.
to
Yeah.
work out what your kind of, I think like your log line is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing that really helped me was the working out what the character wants and the actual steps in the
Yeah.
plan in order for them to get it. Because that's really
Yeah.
helped to kind of to like plug that in almost to I'm like a huge Save the Cat freak now. Like I can talk to my
Yeah.
friends about Save the Cat
Yeah.
anytime. But when you had the thing of like I've literally got it next to my desk, I've got it
All
printed out.
right. Oh, cool.
Um, but when you talked about the plan, breaking down what they want into like actionable steps, I was then able to kind of go, right, where in the beat sheet do I want to put these actionable steps?
Right. Exactly. Right. It gives the story kind of like a spine. If you ask, what does my character
Yeah.
want, and then what would they logically need to do to get it, and then that
Yeah.
starts to give you the seed of like some scenes and some things that might happen, and so on.
Yeah,
Very cool.
totally. And it only took
Okay.
me 3 months to write that first draft. I think the one thing that I wish people just, I think, thought about when they're writing their first book is just let yourself get to the end of that first draft.
Mhm.
It doesn't even have to be good at all. It doesn't even have to make
Yeah.
sense. But if you can at least do that, you're further ahead than everyone else, but you're also able to actually look at that and go, right, now I can see what I might need to fix. Because you
Yeah.
might love the first half of the book probably because you spent so much more time on it, but then the second half might fall to crap. And
Yeah.
at least if you have it, you can do something with it.
You've got a lump of clay, and now you can start shaping
Yeah,
it, as opposed to
exactly.
you have nothing. So what are you supposed to shape, right? The difference between your first book and your second book, not
Mm,
necessarily that you went crazy with the planning, but that with the
mm.
second book you just did like the minimum effective dose of
Yeah,
giving it enough structure and doing enough planning that it didn't turn into
yeah.
like a sprawling, unmanageable mess, right?
Yes.
You
Yeah.
and that's the reason why you were able to get it down on paper in such a short space
Hmm.
of time in 3 months, and why
Yeah.
what you had it still required editing, but it didn't require the same kind of like impossible uphill battle that book one did because
Yeah.
it had a skeleton in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So minimum effective dose of planning makes a massive difference. And the other thing that you highlighted there is taking the pressure off yourself a bit. With your first
Hmm.
book, that was your childhood dream book and you needed it to be
Totally.
perfect, and that made it
Yeah.
very difficult to work on. And with the
Yeah.
second book, I feel like with Ghosted, you kind of saw it as at least at
Fun.
first like a
Yeah.
side project,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that sounds like that took the pressure off massively,
Yeah.
which actually facilitated you finishing it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the query journey. So we
Mm.
did this work together on book two. It was finished, it was edited, you felt happy with it.
Yes.
What was the query journey then like for you?
An emotional roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was. Okay, so I think the thing with the querying, I was very heavily on TikTok watching other people go through the process. And I think there's a lot of good stuff to learn from TikTok. You're going to pick up heaps and heaps and heaps on there. There's a woman on there named Gina Denny who does query letter critiques on her TikTok, and she's fantastic.
Awesome.
But there's also a lot of people that will share only the wins of
Yeah.
getting a literary agent. And they'll
Yeah.
go, here's what you need to know. I got a literary agent in 3 days of querying my novel, or I got this, or I got that. And that when you then go into the query trenches, especially I think we're relatively now attuned to getting things a little bit faster these days because everything's so
Yeah.
instantaneous. We think
Yeah.
that, publishing will also work that way.
Yeah.
I was expecting I would probably have, hopefully, an agent within like maybe a month or two. Like, yeah, and a six pack at the same time.
Yeah.
But I started the querying journey with one little leg up though, I have to admit. So I hired an editor prior to querying because I thought, and it was just going to be a copy edit.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to treat this as a really good learning experience. So I got my first 5 chapters professionally edited.
Right.
And this woman used to be an editor at a big publishing house. And
Right.
she goes, I really like this. And if I still worked at that publishing house, I would have like asked for the rest of your manuscript to look at.
Awesome.
And then I was like, okay, interesting. And she'd given me some really good like stuff, like kind of feedback on it and just like her general kind of copy edit.
Yeah.
And then I thought, stuff it, I'm just going to get her to look at the rest of this because I have a
Right.
really good feeling about this woman. She knew what she was
Yeah.
doing and it was kind of teaching me stuff.
Yeah.
And I got to the end of it and she said, she goes, are you going to start querying soon? I said, yep. And she goes, do you want me to recommend you to about 2 or 3 agents that I know? And I was like, yes, of course, please. And she did. She sent off a personalized email to 3 agents. One
Awesome.
of them, after she sent back a message saying, I'm really sorry, I'm no longer looking at authors internationally. I'm only doing authors in Scotland. And I was like, damn it, my
Okay.
next book's set in Scotland, but whatever. And then the other two, I got full requests from straight
Mm.
away. So straight off the bat in the querying journey, I had 2 full requests. Now that made me go, oh my God, this is going to be easy street. Like, imagine if I just got an agent after sending out barely 2 to 3
Right.
like queries. This is
Right.
insane. And but then the waiting started.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was really, really difficult because they were when they requested the fulls, they were very enthusiastic.
Yeah.
And I think I'm working out that I'm not the most patient person on the
Right.
planet. And I waited about 30 days and I hadn't heard back anything. And I thought, oh, is this normal? And I'm reading that, people wait 12 weeks before they hear anything. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll hang in there a little bit. And then I
Mm.
thought, I'm just going to query a couple more. I was like in the
Mhm.
mood. So I just like a little binge query of 10 more.
Yeah.
Got another full request, which was fantastic from Bookends Literary, which is a big
Yeah.
as like, to me that felt like a big bloody deal. So I got a couple more full requests. Things were looking really good, and then the rejection started coming from those full requests.
Yeah.
Now, the first one, oh my God, I was like, oh, I'm never gonna get my book published, and she had said, oh, she goes, it wasn't quite what I thought it would be based on, kind of what you'd said in the query letter.
Right.
And I'm just, I really liked it, but just not enough to represent it. But then she also said between these 2 chapters, I think you could actually like clean it up a little bit and fix
Yeah.
some pacing. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, okay. And then, but I'm thinking, no, I actually think it's all right. Like I'm feeling
Right.
good about it. And I couldn't see this issue. But then the
Yeah.
next rejection happened and they said
Yeah.
the same thing.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, something's going on here. I'm going to have
Yeah.
a look at this.
Yeah.
So the 2 things that kept popping up was they thought the query letter wasn't quite 100% matching what ended up happening in the book
Right.
or the gist of the book, I guess. And
Yeah.
then the second thing was there was a pacing issue around a
Mm.
particular little section of chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went away, I adjusted my query letter just a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then I adjusted this same area,
Yeah.
sent out some more queries,
Yeah.
more fulls happened.
Mhm.
And then things were looking like I hadn't heard anything. I'm like, well, no news is good news.
Mhm.
And then I had a woman send me a revise and resubmit,
Yeah.
which is for anyone who hasn't been through the process yet. Sometimes you'll get an agent that goes, I like it, but I think you could make a couple more edits, and here are
Mhm.
my ideas for those edits. If you also like those ideas and you think they would be worthwhile implementing them, please do, and then send it back to me to look at. So I had this really lovely agent send me this really detailed, like she took time, and this is the thing I really appreciate any agent that actually sends feedback that is personalized, that
Yep.
gives some kind of information that will help
Yep.
me rather than, oh, thanks so much, it's just not right for me. This lady, she sent me back like 2 pages and she said, here is what I think you need to do. She goes, I really, really love the opening. I really love this, but I'd love to see just a little bit more of her relationship with so and so and this and this. And as I'm reading, I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I totally agree. Like
Mhm.
that would be great to pop like to fix that up. And so I did it. I took 3 months doing that revise and resubmit.
Yeah.
And then I resubmitted it to her and she goes, I'm so sorry, I'm not actually doing this genre anymore.
Oh,
And I was like,
God. It's just
literally.
rejection therapy, isn't it? It's
Oh
rejection
my
therapy.
goodness. But she sent that back within minutes of me sending it. Like I'd been like spending the
Oh,
day going, okay, today I'm going to send her the revise and resubmit.
yeah.
And I'm like, do I
Yeah.
send it today? And is this email sounding okay? And blah, 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 blah. And then within minutes, she's like, I'm so sorry. Like I'm not, and she's like, I didn't even request the rest of it. And I was just like, ugh, my heart.
Yeah.
And, but in total, like I sent out, I think in the end, I had sent out about um, 60 queries
Yep.
and I had 15 full requests in the end.
Right.
And amongst that, a lot of rejections, and it did get a bit hard. Like I must admit, there were times where I was like, "Oh, maybe this is just not gonna happen." Like
Yeah.
I hear about people, they query their first book, they don't get the agent in the first book, but they query their second book, and then they get the agent.
Yep.
That can happen. Or you can query your book, get the agent, not sell the book. There's plenty of things that can happen. And I thought, oh, I wonder if maybe this time it's not for me. I went out to a comedy show. I got in the car. In my inbox, I had a rejection from an agent that I'd been waiting for. And I was just like, this is it. I said to my husband, I was like, listen, I think I had like 7 more fulls left. And I said, I think, if it doesn't, I'm not sending out any more queries. If it doesn't happen from here, I'm going to stop. I'm going to do something else. And then I might come back to it and try and submit it again another time and maybe
Yeah.
just give it a bit of a brush up.
Yeah.
two
Okay.
days later, I got an email from Lucian, my now agent, and she's like, I loved this. Can you please, do you want to jump on a call with me? I'd love to discuss representation. And I was just
Good.
like I woke up and I think like my husband was in the shower and I was like,
Yeah.
I haven't been out of the shower. And I was like, Chris. So he's like, what's wrong? And
Yeah.
yeah, it was amazing that she loved it. But then when I got on the call with her, the first thing she said to me, she goes, I read this in 2 days. I did
Yeah.
nothing else but read this book. And she goes, and I ate it up like candy. And I was like,
Yeah.
get out of
That's a good
town. I
sign.
honestly thought you'd be like, yeah, this is all right.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. You know what's funny as well, Alana? If anyone here watching looks at the other interviews with the other clients that got agents, it's a really
mm,
similar pattern that
yeah,
just at the moment where you were about to call it a
yeah,
day,
yeah.
it's like just after your patience has run out is often when it
Hmm.
clicks.
Yeah.
And all of the stuff that you were talking about, like getting rejected again and again and again and again, and just wearing you down, but you just keep going
Hmm.
just to see if you could still give it a chance. That
Yeah.
seems to really be the winning formula. But the other
Yeah.
thing you highlighted that I think is really important for everybody is that the querying is iterative, by which
Mm,
I mean it's not like, okay, the book's done, query it, and now I'm at the query stage, I can just forget about making any changes to the book.
yeah.
Not
No.
really.
Yeah.
If you know you're getting warmer when the
Hmm.
agents are giving you something personalized. So if
Yeah.
you're getting rejections that are not just a template, but they're actually saying, sorry, but I rejected it because of this specific thing, or
Mm,
this didn't work for me, could you change it and submit it again? This is actually a
yeah.
very good sign because it means
Yeah.
that they considered it,
Yeah.
right? It means they
Yeah.
were considering it before they rejected
Yeah.
it. And so you go back and then you make the changes and then you make sure that you're tweaking the book with each batch of queries that you
Hmm.
do is really important.
Yeah. I did three. So my
Right.
manuscript changed 3 times, and so did my query letter. My
Yeah.
query letter kind of mostly stayed the same. But then I started realizing when I changed my manuscript, I'm like, right, I really need to make sure that the promise I'm giving them in that query letter happens, almost like when you
Yep.
read the back of the book. And if what's happening on the back of the book hasn't happened in the first 25%, I'm kind of like, well, what did
Sure.
I sign up for?
Sure.
So I tweaked my query letter 3 times. I was successful in getting fulls on each of those threes.
Yeah.
And I did tailor, like sometimes like I would see a particular agent, she would kind of mention something. So I might ham something up a little bit more
Yeah.
in the description of my book so that they
Hmm.
understood that this book really was going to suit them.
Hmm.
And so that kind of helped. But the thing I think, like what you were saying, like don't just go, okay, my book's finished, I'm not going to have to touch it. Like
Yeah.
I'm doing a round of edits with my agent right now. It's a light
Yeah.
round, which is good. We're going to be on submission before Christmas, which is great. But
Yeah.
it's not a you're done, there's no more editing. And I think once you I think you let that go a little bit and go, right, there's going to be more, and there probably will be more once I get, if we get an
Yeah.
editor and a publisher
Yeah.
once they could turn it inside out and go, right, developmental edit time, strap in. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, oh, here we go again.
I think a lot of times people also don't see that there's a gap there between where the book is now and how good it could actually be with further
Yeah.
rounds of edits and with a
Yeah.
professional pair of eyes. There's often massive room for improvement that
Yeah.
you're not aware of because you've never had somebody point it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the other thing that you mentioned there is this requires so much patience, like
Mm,
so much patience. And
yeah.
if your mentality is, oh, I don't know, how much further is there to go? Like, oh, it's getting
Yeah.
a little late in the day, it's like you
Mm,
can't think about it that way, or
no.
you're gonna end up so demotivated. Your mindset
Yeah.
just has to be, as long as it takes, I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As
And
long as
I
it
will
takes, as
say,
much as there is to do, I'm good with it.
yeah.
I'll do it. I'm taking my time.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
fine.
a long process. Like publishing in general, like what I'm working out, like I'm now like a freak on Publishers Marketplace. I'm constantly on there going like, who sold what and how long did that, like, because I'll
Yeah.
follow like someone on TikTok and be like, oh, they've signed with an agent, and then I'll be watching their
Wow.
agent to see if they've sold it yet.
Yeah. I get that.
And it's long. Like some people will take a year to even find the publishing house after
Yep.
they've been agented, and then after
Yep.
that, it might be a year or a year and a half before you get the publishing date.
Yeah.
So it's not a quick, fast thing. And one thing that really helped me though through this process is I started writing my next book, and
Yeah.
I'm now in developmental edits on my next book after
Nice.
that.
You're unstoppable. Wow.
Yeah, but it's just one of those things that like now I've got a bit of a process which is great.
Yeah.
But because I take the pressure off myself a little tiny bit of going, well, if this doesn't work, or let this simmer away.
Yes.
Meanwhile, I'll put my mind off it and I'll go and work on something else. And I've got like 4 or 5 other books like kind of in the works right now
Right.
because I've been able to go, right, if this doesn't work, I'm going to work on this. Or, if an idea strikes, right, quick, get some, jot it down and that type of thing. Because I think anyone that's going to get an agent, agents are wanting as well, usually authors that are going to not just have one book, they're going to want more books from you.
Exactly. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
one of the first things my agent asked me is like, what else are you working on?
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and the editor, even the very first that editor that I booked before I went into the query trenches to do my copy edit, she said, start writing your next book. She's like, that is
Yeah.
my only advice for the query trenches, to start writing
Yeah.
your next book.
I like that. Mm.
Yeah, and it's helped me so much.
Thank you so much for coming along and having this conversation with me. I think a lot of people are going to watch this and be like super inspired. Because I think,
Yeah,
look, like you've basically just taken us through your character arc
yeah,
from a 16-year-old with a dream all
angsty
the way
girl with
through like
manuscript. Yeah.
struggling, writing something that didn't work and then writing something that did work and then seeing
Yeah.
the difference between then and now. I mean, the thing that stands out to me is you're really patient. You're just
Mm.
having fun with it,
Yeah.
which actually makes you very resilient, right?
Yeah.
Because you're taking the pressure off and you're very like chill and very playful about it, at least on
Mm.
the outside,
Yeah.
which
Right now I
which
am.
helps, which I think helps a lot. And
Yeah.
also the difference in your understanding of how this industry works and also your
Mm.
understanding of the writing skills and the writing craft. You've clearly
Yeah.
like studied it and gotten the hang of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot here for people to admire and to emulate. So
Yeah. And I mean, I think
fantastic.
just try and learn as much as you can about like it's a business, it's not just a
Yeah.
hobby. And so I think like treating it like that, like being super professional in your query
Yeah.
letters and
Yeah.
not thinking, oh, I'm gonna do the quirky thing and be like, no one's ever read this before, you're gonna love it. And like,
Oh
g'day,
yeah.
mate. Do
If
you
I
mind running
ever
that
hear that
quickly?
phrase, you've never read anything like this before.
Yeah.
Nothing like
And
this
I'm like,
before has ever been
and I
written.
don't want to.
Then
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I immediately know it's not going to
Yeah,
work. Yeah,
yeah. But like
yeah,
word counts and stuff like that, these things matter so much. So I think if you're thinking that you're going to dive into the query trenches, start looking at things like, is my word count appropriate for my genre?
yep,
Understand what comparative titles are, and be selective about the literary agents you send to. Because there was actually one other thing which I'll bring it up very, very quickly. But do you remember I sent you a voice memo going, I've gotten a full request and I think it's from a schmagent? And then I read a comment under this under the manager's query manager comment, and
yeah.
it was like, this person is a schmagent, be really weary. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
oh no, a
Okay.
schmagent is a bad agent. And once I found that out, and then I did a deep dive on Google, I was like, oh, actually, there are some, like you can get an agent, they'll go, it's going to cost you this much now for me to represent you. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
what shady alley of the internet have I wandered down?
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, so just things like that yeah, kind of threw me for a sixer. But the
Mm,
yeah, overall thing is just do your research before you go in. Don't rush it and query in batches. I know
yeah.
you want to get it
Yeah.
out there, but query in batches because you then have time to adjust your manuscript. If you do
Iterating.
it all at once and then halfway through you go, I'm going to make some changes, I guarantee the next day someone will request your full and you won't be ready.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Fantastic. Thank you
yeah.
so much, Alana. Thanks for taking
No
the time.
worries.
Really
All
amazing,
good.
helpful. All right.
No problem. I will
I'll
chat
wrap
to you
things
soon,
up.
Max.